Good evening and welcome to Premier League Live with me, Kevin Ferris, for a final game of the Easter weekend coverage here on LFS. It's been some Easter weekends, 3 games on Friday, 2 games yesterday, and now another 3 today, and we're on to our final game as Tottenham take on Nottingham Forest, with Forest chasing the Champions League. Can they get there under Nuno Espirito Santo, the former Spurs manager, of course? But they were dropped out of the top 5 after Chelsea's win yesterday, comeback win against Fulham yesterday, coming from 1-0 down to win 2-1. So Nottingham Forest start the night in 6th, and let's have a look and see what way the race for Europe starts this evening. Actually, we'll have a look at that in a moment, but we'll have a look at the fixtures and the results from the weekend so far. Brentford 4-2 winners against Brighton. Excuse me, ending a run of poor home form for Brentford, and they won 4-2. Crystal Palace drew 0-0 against Bournemouth. Despite being down to 10 men, Crystal Palace, they got a point out of Bournemouth. Everton thought they were getting a point out of Man City, but 2 late goals for the visitors there claimed the 3 points. West Ham thought they were getting 3 points, but they only got a point out of Southampton, who equalised late on, meaning they will not be record breakers. Southampton, they can still equal the lowest points record ever in the Premier League, but not break it. Villa 4-1 thrashing of Newcastle. What a statement for them in the chase for Champions League. Chelsea coming from behind in that West London derby to win 2-1. Arsenal thumping Ipswich 4-0. Man United beaten at home by Wolves, securing Wolves' safety. And Liverpool getting the job done over Leicester through Trent Alexander-Arnold to all but seal the title. 3 points Liverpool need, which they could win the title in 48 hours' time if Arsenal lose at home to Crystal Palace. But that is not our focus tonight. Our focus is on the European race this evening as Nottingham Forest head to Spurs. Let's have a look then at the race for Europe. This is the way it stands. So we've cut out 8th and below due to the fact that we don't think any of them will chase for Champions League football this season. This is what we believe are the 5 teams that are chasing for 3 places. Newcastle in 3rd, 59 points. Man City on 58 in 4th. Chelsea jumped up to 5th, above Nottingham Forest on goal difference with 57 points yesterday. And Forest, with a game in hand on the teams around them, on 57 in 6th. 7th place are Aston Villa after their win over Newcastle. So 2 points separate 5 teams. Nottingham Forest can jump up back to 3rd if they win away at Spurs this evening. A draw would put them up to 5th, so they would be back in the top 5 if they claim something away at Tottenham tonight. A win would put them back up to 3rd. A defeat would see them sit in 6th, and really at risk of being dropped out of the Champions League places. They fell away from form recently, Forest, losing their last 2 away at Villa and at home to Everton, but they want to get back on the horse again and back to winning ways. Let's have a look at the remaining fixtures then. So after tonight's game, discounting the Spurs game for Forest, this is the final 5 fixtures of the season for each of the Champions League chasers. The normal text is home games, the underlined text is away games, and the text with grey background there is the teams that are currently facing each other for the Champions League places. So Newcastle host Ipswich, then head to Brighton, then face Chelsea at home, then head to Arsenal and host Everton. Aston Villa will be the opponents for Man City tomorrow night. We'll have that one live here in LFS. That's at the Etihad. Then City are at home to Wolves, away to Southampton, home to Bournemouth, and away to Fulham. Then Chelsea, they probably have the most difficult of fixtures because they face 2 of the fellow Champions League chasers and face what would be the champions-elect Liverpool as well, and they've got home games against Everton and Man United, but those 2 games against fellow battlers are away from home, away to Newcastle and away to Nottingham Forest. Forest fixtures are pretty winnable up until the final game, of course. Brentford then away to Palace, home to Leicester and away to West Ham, and then they host Chelsea on the final day. And Villa's fixtures, their toughest comes next when they head to City tomorrow night, and then they host Fulham, head to Bournemouth, host Tottenham, and head then to Man United on the final day. Who's got the hardest of fixtures? I would probably say Chelsea, but at the minute they're in the top 5, so they have to be displaced by other teams. I'd say Forest are in a decent position. If they come away with a win tonight and continue that form in the next number of games, they could really be favourites for it. But Aston Villa have a tough task as well, as do Man City. But Newcastle have the position and might have a nice run of fixtures if they can get in good run of form back from that defeat against Villa at the weekend. Remember, Villa, it is a quick turnaround Saturday to Tuesday, and that is what Villa have to face. Manchester City have to face it as well, so they're pretty even on that front as well. So that's the way the race for Europe looks then, and it's really hotting up and getting exciting to the end of this season. Who knows which of our teams will be taking those places? We know Liverpool and Arsenal will be in the Champions League next season based on their league positions, but 3rd, 4th and 5th is still up for grabs, as are the other European places. Remember, those teams that will miss out will more than likely pick up 6th and 7th and more than likely pick up other European places. But the Champions League is the glory lands. Spurs can get it still in the Champions League if they win the Europa League this season, which is still a realistic possibility for Tottenham. That is still on their minds and in their hearts, really, after that big win away at Frankfurt on Thursday night. A big win for Ange Postecoglou's team. Dominic Solanke's penalty was enough to send them through to the semi-finals against Bodo Glimt, and they would feel they could get past Bodo Glimt over 2 legs and head to a Europa League final. But tonight's the focus is here against Nottingham Forest, a fellow battler, maybe inadvertently through different means, but they're both looking for the same thing. Let's see who can come out on top tonight then. It's Tottenham against Nottingham Forest. Let's get the team news. Starting with the home side, Vicario starts in goal. A back 4 of Pedro Porro, Christian Romero the captain, Mickey van de Ven and Jed Spence in defence. Rodrigo Bentancur and Pap Sarr are joined alongside Dejan Kulishevsky in midfield, with a front 3 of Matthias Tell, Wilson Odobert and Richarlison leading the line. On the bench for Ange Postecoglou's side, Kinski, Davies, Danzo, Archie Gray, Basuma, Bergvall, Madison, Johnson and Solanke. For Nottingham Forest, Matt Sells starts in goal. A back 4 of Nico Williams, Nikola Milenkovic, Murillo and Harry Toffolo at left back. In midfield, Nicholas Dominguez and Elliot Anderson, with Morgan Gibbs-White in the 10. On the right hand side, Anthony Alanga. On the left side, Danilo. And further forward, the centre forward, Chris Wood, leads the line. On the bench for Forest, Miguel Morato Moreno, Abbott Sangari Hudson-Odoi, Yates Awonyi and Ramon Sosa. No Ola Aina for Forest tonight. It's a big night, under the lights, to end Easter weekend here in LFS. It's Tottenham against Nottingham Forest. Kickoff is next. Good evening. Welcome to Premier League Live. It has been a long day, but a fun day of Easter Monday action for you here on LFS. Leeds and Burnley promoted with their home wins earlier today in the Championship. It's now down to the Premier League in a chase for Champions League football. Spurs not in that fight for their league position. They're well down and out. They're actually starting the night in 16th, Tottenham. Not a good position for Ange Postecoglou's side, who have lost more games this season than those in and around them. 17 defeats this campaign. Nottingham Forest, they're still very much in the mix. They're in 6th starting tonight, but a win would take them back up to 3rd where they started last weekend. Little to no damage done really in the end for them if they can come out with all 3 points tonight. But Spurs don't have many home games left. They've 3 to remain. They've only won 6 of their 16 so far. But hosting Forest, then Palace and then Brighton on the final day will be a chance to try and take any sort of comfort from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this season. A place Nuno Espirito Santo knows well, having managed here at Tottenham before, and many of those that fell by the wayside recently for Spurs, managerial-wise, Ange Postecoglou might be the next on the chopping block, but can he save his time at Spurs with a good end of the campaign and maybe a trophy for Tottenham? Certainly taking their time to get underway here. Done a little waffling. Peter Banks is our referee. There was a little bit of complications there with Christian Romero's boot, which was why why we've been a little bit delayed. Peter Banks, the referee, as I said. As we're underway then. Forest get us going. Forest have a lot to fight for. And a lot to work for tonight. A win, and they're back in third. Peter Banks, our referee. VAR, John Brooks. I reiterated that just to make sure you knew who the referee was. Peter Banks, by the way. This is a big night for Nottingham Forest. You know, they've kind of lost their way in the last two games. That defeat to Villa and then that horrible late defeat to Everton, conceding in the last minute. You know, these are difficult ways for a Forest side that haven't been in this position before, a squad that's not been in this position before. That's how they retaliate. It's how they bounce back. It's how they fight for their place in the top 5. As I said, any sort of positive result for Forest would get them back in the top 5 tonight, but a win would get them back up to third. As Tell tried to break forward, blocked by Williams. Won it back to Matthias Tell, and he's in the box here. Blocked well by Milenkovic. Good start from Spurs. Sarr whips one in with the right foot. Cleared away by Murillo. Back wide by Spence, and now Sarr again, who will fizz one round the corner, but far too much on that one from Papsar. Goal kick. As I was saying about Forest's recent results, haven't been great. Now, before that, they were flying. You know, they'd won 3 in a row. Man United, Ipswich, Man City, and then drew with Arsenal. So they had some tough fixtures, and they came out on top on all of them. And then they've just lost away at Villa, ever so narrowly, 2-1. And then that defeat at home to Everton would have stung, would have hurt the most. A game they were probably expecting to come away with a win out of. That's what Everton can do to you. I think Forest just need to refocus and know that there's still 5 games left of this season. Well, 6, obviously, including tonight's game, where they can get themselves back in the top 5 again and get themselves right back to where they want to be. And if I was Nottingham Forest, if I was any of the top 5, or any of the top 7, sorry, the 5 that are in the battle for Europe, I would be wanting Forest's fixtures if I was anyone, really, because I don't place anyone that that are battling. Everybody plays at least one other Champions League battler, but Forest don't play theirs until the final game of the season, and it's at home, so they have the best advantage, and it's not for a while, so they can rack up a couple of wins and maybe get it done before they even play Chelsea on the final day. And those fixtures that they do have coming up, they would expect to pick up wins against, as I mentioned there, you know, whether it be Brentford, whether it be Crystal Palace, Leicester, West Ham. Those are games where you'd think Forest should go into that knowing they should win. Now, I'm not saying they will win all those games, but they should go in with that mentality and that feeling and that belief. And that should be the target. Nice touch there by Alanga. Gibbs-White feeds it off to Danilo. And Murillo gives it out wide here to Harry Toffolo. Playing at left back in front of Alex Moreno for Nottingham Forest tonight is Harry Toffolo. Here he is again. Danilo. Elliot Anderson. Through the middle. Lovely little touch and turn by Gibbs-White, whose shot is forced wide by Vicario. That was beautiful from Morgan Gibbs-White, who barely had a kick or a touch against Everton of any real great note. Lovely little ball by Elliot Anderson. Beautiful turn on the first time by Morgan Gibbs-White. Spins away from Sarr, and the goal gaping in front of him. Tries to spin it to the far corner, and a very good save by Vicario puts it wide for the corner. That was lovely from Gibbs-White. On a way to get back to what you want to be. Corner. Alanga to deliver, right hand side. Fizzed in all the way through. And the shot from the edge of the box is deflected and in. It's Elliot Anderson. And Nottingham Forest take the lead. A great moment coming early in this game for those Nottingham Forest fans who celebrate in the away stands of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Elliot Anderson. Incredible strike. Helped by the aid of a deflection. But it doesn't matter. All that matters is it's found the back of the net. A little bit of a deflection on the way through. We'll see it again. It's from the corner. Not good enough from Spurs. Don't deal with it well enough. But the shot from Anderson slightly deflects and it comes off the hands of Vicario, I think. Bounces off the underside of Bentancur. And Vicario kind of palms it into his own net there. Just with his fingertips. But the sheer velocity and ferocity of that shot carried it through, and Elliot Anderson has first blood for Nottingham Forest. Spurs 0, Forest 1. That's the start they would have wanted. That's the start that will reignite belief in Nottingham Forest that they can qualify for Champions League football. They win and they're back up to third, as I've said. And now, with an early goal, that will give them something to hold on to. The whole 90 minutes against Everton, they couldn't squeeze a way through. And in the first couple of minutes of their next game, their first real opportunity from a set piece. And it finds the back of the net via a little bit of a deflection. Not massively a deflection, but a little bit. That's now Spurs having to respond to that early setback. Spurs who've already had problems at home so often this season. Not a happy hunting ground for Tottenham. Maybe Nuno Espirito Santo and his side coming back from his old patch to haunt his old team. As it stands, Forest would move up to third, up on 60 points and a point ahead of Newcastle United. We will show you that live table just to reiterate the point. Show you what that means. I've been doing it all day, so I should have good practice. Forest are forward again here. Anthony Elanga in the box, wanting to go himself. Elanga's still not challenged. He was crowded out in the end. Just tried to do too much there. I'm surrounded by 3 Spurs players in the end. Excuse me. Kulusevski made it off well and given back to Christian Romero. So this is the table then. Forest in there, just behind Liverpool and Arsenal. Back into third, where they have practically set for a lot of the season. And they're back up there on 60 points as it stands. Long way to go, though. Spurs always pack a punch. Funnily enough, Tottenham have scored quite a lot of goals this season, despite being in 16th to start the night. Spurs aren't low on scoring this season. I was actually quite shocked. I thought it was a misprint when I looked at the table yesterday when Leicester were relegated. And I looked at it and thought, Spurs have scored that many goals? I genuinely thought it was a misread. They have scored 60 goals this season, Spurs. Only 4 sides have scored more than them. Arsenal, Newcastle, Man City and Liverpool are the only 4 teams that have scored more than Tottenham. And Spurs scored 60 goals. I mean, that's mental that they've scored 60 goals and they sit in 16th. They could drop to 17th. West Ham United are below them, just a point behind them. Spurs could theoretically end this season as the worst Premier League side that hasn't been relegated. It stays in the division. That's how bad this season has been in the league for Spurs. And Man United are in the same boat. They're only on 38 points, so they're in the same flock of sheep. That's not a saying. They're in the same boat, is the best saying. Throw in the Forest down the left side. Toffolo. Back to Murillo. Switches it to Morgan Gibbs-White. Controls it under pressure. Brought down, but Wood keeps it alive. Spinning was Elliot Anderson. Referee plays advantage. Alanga on the left side. The Toffolo. Back to Elliot Anderson, who swings one into the box, and Wood connects! And it's found another way in. It's off the other hand of Vicario. And it's Chris Wood, who's having a cracker of a season. And he's doubled Nottingham Forest lead. Spurs shell-shocked. Nottingham Forest absolutely flying. And it's Elliot Anderson's delivery. Goal and an assist for Elliot Anderson. Wow. Great delivery. Although it's not going to stand, I don't think. I think Chris Wood's offside here. VAR will have a check, and I think they will come to a pretty definitive conclusion that the goal should not stand, in my opinion. From what I saw from the replay, I don't think it's going to stand. I think this should be 1-0. Back to 1. Ange Postecoglou standing there as shocked. I think it should be offside. And it's not going to stand, just as I predicted. It's a great goal. Very good goal. Spurs count themselves lucky that they aren't further behind. We'll see the semi-automated system. Yeah, he looks quite clearly offside there, and he was. We will, of course, get you that image, of course, as we now can. The Premier League Match Centre releasing that image and that detail, so we will have that image for you, and we'll put it up on the screen just to confirm and give you a little bit of clarity on that offside call. But it was correct, and the goal rightfully ruled out. Tell down the left side. Spurs want to react to that. Now Spence into the box. It's chopped onto his right. Spins it to the back post. Away by Elliot Anderson. But a good chance here for Porro. Lays it off to Kulishevsky. Back to Pedro Porro with a little bit of space. He hits one. Headed away by Murillo. From danger there. A little bit of a let-off there for Spurs, that offside. The goalkeeper certainly not covered himself in glory in the first number of minutes here. Almost panned two into his own net. If Chris Wood was onside, he would have. And he got away with that one. Did Vicario. Didn't get away with the first one, though. Here's Matthias Tell. Drifting inside. Swings it out to the far right. Porro to deliver. Blocked by Toffolo. Behind for the Spurs corner. And that's down beside where the Forest fans are. See it again. Oh, there's a little bit of a pull on there. Richarlison there, but not much. Not enough to call a foul. Excuse me. Corner for Spurs. Right-footed delivery. Outswung. Bentancur's header not getting much direction. Tell's effort blocked. As Gibbs-White gets the header. Oh, and Williams. Oh, didn't win the challenge. Here's Kulishevsky. Cuts it across. Danilo there in the way. And thumps it clear. Looking for Alanga. He's trying to find a run there, but Jed Spence well positioned. And gets that dealt with. Still waiting on that official offside imagery to be released. We've seen it on the broadcast, so there's no issues with it, but just waiting on that full confirmation so I can give you the image to give you a little bit of context and clarity on it. Forest off to a good start. A very, very good start. They win this one, it will be their 18th of the season. Only Liverpool would have won more games because they would be level on wins with Arsenal and Newcastle, who have both won 18. So if Forest were to win this, they would also be on 18 wins this season, which for a side that were relegation threatened in their previous 2 seasons in the Premier League. 32 points they finished on last season. Season prior, finished on 38. So they've actually out-tallied. They haven't out-tallied their previous records. They would still be 10 points off out-tallying that. But there is a realistic chance that if Forest finish on 70 points, that would be equal to their last 2 Premier League points totals combined. They're only 10 points away from that. That shows what a season they're having. Unbelievable season. The highest Premier League finish since they were last promoted was 16th. 16th and 17th are their last 2 finishing positions. And now they sit with 5 games and a half, and a bit more, to go in 3rd as it stands. As Elliot Anderson turns into trouble, and Christian Romero deemed to have fouled Elliot Anderson there. He did. Just a little bit late there. The Spurs captain. Of course, Christian Romero has the armband tonight. No Heung-min Son, who is the club captain for Tottenham. He's not involved due to a little injury. So Christian Romero has the armband. As Murillo usually takes these free kicks and is going to do it again. Rolls it towards Elanga. Wide on the left side. Lots of bodies in the box for Forest. Elanga's cross. Wood's header! That one's not going to be ruled out. That is a perfect goal. And Chris Wood made the goalkeeper disappear. Incredible header. Great cross by Elanga. Smart set piece from Nottingham Forest. They're not going to chalk that one off VAR. And Chris Wood does have his goal. And Forest do have their 2-goal lead. It's fabulous. It's Murillo. You think he's going to whip it in, but he decides to feed it down the left channel for Elanga. Make it out as if it's like the second phase of a corner. And they work it wide with Elanga whipped in, and that's a fabulous header by Chris Wood. He's well known for it, and that's why. Raised above everybody else, and he made the goalkeeper disappear. He was there, but he was nowhere near it, Vicario. That's incredible. And Nottingham Forest have their 2nd goal, and Chris Wood has his 19th of the season. Puts him up to 4th in the Premier League goal scorers list. Only behind Isak, Haaland and Salah now. And goes above Brandon Bomo. He was level with on 18 before he scored. Here's Otterbear looking for an early response for Spurs. The cross turned into some sort of shot that went narrowly wide. It's kept alive on the far side here. Spence. Tell. Back inside to Rodrigo Bentancur. And what a response this is from Nottingham Forest. Coming into this one on the back of back-to-back Premier League defeats. And probably their feelings and beliefs and everything would have been tested. Their character is being tested. And tonight, so far, after 16, 18 minutes, they have made easy work of Spurs. 2-0 to the good. And Tottenham have looked nowhere near them. Cross into the box here. Away by Williams. Long clear by Nico Williams there, the right back for Nottingham Forest. Here's Spurs breaking forward again. Bentancur finds it wide to Tell. Inside it goes. The shot from Otterbear, I believe that was. And it goes behind from Matt Sells with a save. Yeah, it was good work from Tell. Drifted it back to Otterbear on the edge of the D. And it was going towards goal. A bobbling one. And the bounce just forced Matt Sells to have to parry it rather than try and catch it. Cross delivered in. Bouncing down in the box there from the corner. Romero tried to keep it inside, but cleared away by Williams. Only as far as Porro. Sarr trying to deliver, but well blocked there by Danilo, who gets his body in the way. I do have that image of the VAR situation there that ruled out the Forest goal from Chris Wood, but obviously it doesn't really matter now. He's got his goal and the Forest have got their second goal. But I will just show you it for clarity in a moment. "20 minutes gone. Spurs 0, Nottingham Forest 2. This season is going from bad to worse, league-wise, for Tottenham. It's been evident for a while that the Europa League is their only hopes. And the only positive thing about their season is that they're in the Europa League semi-finals and a chance of Champions League qualification if they can claim that trophy as their own. And in that long trophy drought, but also a drought without Champions League football. It was, for a while, at Tottenham, very consistent and always around about. That's not been the case for a number of years. And now they have a corner. Again, flicked on by Romero. Again, Forrest able to scramble it away from danger. Tell picks it up on the far left side. Drifts one across, but all the way through and out the other end, really. Now, this is the offside call. Sorry, hold on. Cross delivered in by Porro, cleared away by Chris Wood, who's back there defending now. Audebert, Sarr, now Tell. It is Tell with a cross. Cleared away by Milenkovic. And Morgan Gibbs-White felt he was tugged at there by Christian Romero, but the referee says play on. Here is the offside then. That's the definitive claim. Quite evident from that image that Chris Wood was offside for that goal that wasn't. He got his goal anyway. Ooh, Tell's header over the bar. Gives job says get in Forest. What top are you wearing? The Liverpool top. Me and you only looks like. Fair enough. Yes, we are doing Manchester City against Aston Villa tomorrow. Yep, we are indeed. Of course, that's a big one. Two of those sides, of course, involved in the Champions League race. That's tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Of course, that's obviously moved because both City and Villa are involved in FA Cup semi-finals at the weekends. So that game had to be moved, so that's tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Forest 2-0 to the good. Goal from Elliot Anderson that was helped on the way by a little bit of deflection. And then Chris Wood's clean header from a Anthony Elanga cross. Lovely little flick by Tell. Here's Spence down the left side. Skips past Dominguez and inside Williams, who brought him down, but cleanly and fairly, said the referee. And now Gibbs-White breaks away. Gets away from the challenger Kulishevsky. Again, the through ball. Just too far ahead of anybody in front of him. And Spurs can retrieve. Well, that's the thing with Tottenham. They've had double the amount of shots. More of the possession. They're 2-0 down. And that's what really sums up not only Spurs, but also Forest in the way that they play. They don't want possession. They want to allow the opponent to have possession and hit them on the break and get them with set pieces. That's their game. It's Kulishevsky's shot. Again, fairly tame towards Matt Sells. But, yeah, there's just... They've got something there, Forest, you know. There is just that added little bit of energy when they go on the counter-attack. That's a long ball over the top here. Wood's won the header. He's battled past the centre-back. Here he is again, Chris Wood. He lays it off to Elliot Anderson, who's already scored. He gets brought down, but no foul as Forest win it back again. Gibbs White. Elliot Anderson stayed down on the field. Still in pain. Danilo. Now Alanga rolls it round the corner. Toffolo looking for the cross. Blocked out for the throw as Elliot Anderson does get back to his feet, but a bit of a question mark as to why the foul wasn't given there. Say it again. Yeah, to be fair, he was slightly clipped, but there's not major contact. Yeah. Just a little bit unfortunate, really, for Elliot Anderson. It's not a foul. Murillo almost got caught out there with his long ball. Didn't get very far. Did that time, though, as Porro gives back to Vicario, who's pressured into kicking it straight out of play. He's not started well, Guillermo Vicario, the Spurs goalkeeper. First one, he basically palmed into his own net with his fingertips. That Elliot Anderson scored. Then the second one, he came to try and claim the ball. Just got completely done in by Chris Wood on the header. It could have been 3-0 down if Chris Wood would have been onside from another effort. So really got off to a poor start here, Vicario. Not good at all. Not good at all for Spurs. I mean, what can they salvage from their league season? Even if they win the remainder of the games, they're not going to go very far. Probably the highest they can finish is mid-table, and that's if they get a good winning streak. But yeah, they're a good 10 points, 11 points off 10th place in Brighton. The top 8 is separate between 8th, 7th and 8th. It's a good now 8 points between those, so they're anywhere near Europe, even if they did claw back some incredible form, which you just don't see happening for Tottenham. And that's why I said the Europa League's their last hope this season, that this season doesn't completely be forgotten and Ange Postecoglou doesn't get completely sacked right away. And of course there has been rumours circling whether Ange Postecoglou is going to get sacked inevitably at the end of the season, whether or not they win a trophy. That's been some of the rumours that have been circling, but we'll wait and see what comes of that, whether he does end up being here in charge in August and the new season gets underway. And Spurs will be hoping a clean slate and some European football of Champions League status here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium next season. And of course that will only happen if they win the Europa League. They haven't won a trophy since 2008, Tottenham. That League Cup campaign. A good 17 years ago now. Gibbs White. Milenkovic. Murillo. White to Toffolo. Back to Murillo. Dinks it in the midfield. Lovely little gather by Wood, but Alanga couldn't feed it on. And actually Romero coming to win the ball. Puts the ball out of play. Well, let me tell you, I have no idea which of those 5 teams, which 3 of those 5 teams battling for Champions League will get there. I don't think anybody does. You know, Newcastle, Man City, Villa, Chelsea and Forest are the 5 that are battling. Who knows what 3 teams will get it? Then again, the question remains, would it be a disappointment for Nottingham Forest if they had so much for this season and were in the Champions League places for so long? Would it be a disappointment if they ended up coming away with Europa League or Conference League football? To me, I would say yes, because when you've been in that position for so long and then drop out, it reminds me a lot of Leicester. Whenever Leicester were in the Premier League and battling for those positions, they're now relegation. They're relegated, of course, as of yesterday. So, here's Spurs in the box, dribbling around. Again, no room. Danilo cutting it out past Wilson Odebear there. But as I was saying, it reminds me a lot, this situation of maybe Leicester in the top 4 all season, and then they drop out towards the end of the campaign and just weren't able to get over the line in 2 successive seasons under Brendan Rodgers. And I think, if Forest end up in that same situation, look at the way where Leicester ended up. You commit yourself so much to a run at Champions League. If you don't get there, the financials are so different, and you're playing in a completely different world when you're with Champions League. Odebear off the right, dragged the shot well wide of the left post, but that's the conversation they're in now. If they do end up getting Europa League or Conference League, Nottingham Forest, and not Champions League after being in those positions for so long, I would say it's a disappointment. But you'd also look and go, look at the money they could have had, look at the finances, look at the revenue, look at everything that the Champions League gets you, sponsorships, that extra little bit of everything, and obviously the big European nights, obviously. But in terms of the business side of things, it is so important. You don't get that chance, and you don't get that over the line, it is a struggle. We know what PSR and all the financial regulations have been doing to teams. Nottingham Forest were a victim of it, of course, in seasons prior, and just about escaped it this season. But what a wonder that would do for them. Buy better players, get themselves even stronger in the league, and maybe trying to solidify themselves as a European chaser every season. That's what Champions League can do for you, and it will be an astronomical rise. If Forest do it, they would go from having a graphic saying they're safe from relegation one season to probably at the end of the next season having a graphic that will say they're in the Champions League. What an astronomical rise that would be for Forest. Some teams can't even stay in the division and then build upon that and maybe even get mid-table. Forest have just gone a world above that. A couple of worlds above that would be. But enough about Forest anyway. What about Spurs? I said Europa League's their last hope. They play tonight, and then they go to Anfield on Sunday, which could be a day of festivities in Merseyside, of course. Liverpool could claim the title on Sunday at home to Tottenham with a win. And Spurs will then head next Thursday night back here, and they will face Bodo Glimt in the Europa League semi-finals. They then head to Bodo. Bodo in Norway at the week after that on the 8th of May, sandwiched between a trip to West Ham and a hosting of Crystal Palace and London derbies. And then, of course, the Europa League final at the end of May if they get there, Spurs. That is all they've got to hope for this season. As to Man United, it's funny how those two clubs are in exactly the same position. So down and trodden in the bottom half of the Premier League, 15th and 17th, or 14th and 16th, sorry. And all they've got left is the hope for Europa League success to get in the Champions League next season. And both, I would say, desperately need it. I think Man United are in all sorts of trouble financially. And Spurs, if it's another season, if they don't get Champions League, they're not getting any European football whatsoever. And that would be a massive, massive problem for Spurs. They didn't have European football last season in Ange Postecoglou's first campaign. And obviously they finished 5th and got Europa League and just missed out on Champions League to Aston Villa in the end. But, what has happened to them this season? No one actually understands or knows. And it's quite crazy that they've actually probably gone backwards. Nice touch by Spence. Crosses again well dealt with by Nottingham Forest. Nicely recycled though by Tell. They get one back in this. They're very much back in the game. But at 2-0, I feel Forest are just so comfortable. It's a nice ball. Was an attempt of a nice ball, but Elliot Anderson wasn't going to get there. 11 minutes of the first half to go. Tottenham 0, Nottingham Forest 2. Chris Wood and Elliot Anderson the scorers. On our final game of Easter weekend here on LFS. 8 games, and we're into our 8th game of the weekend. It's been some weekend. Doesn't end there though. As I said, Man City Villa is tomorrow. 2 sides battling for European football and battling for Champions League. Who will come out with a victory tomorrow? That's 8 o'clock. And then Arsenal Crystal Palace is Wednesday at 8. There's rumours that the Liverpool players are going to be gathering on Wednesday night, because if Palace beat Arsenal, Liverpool will be crowned champions. They will be champions if Arsenal lose at home to Palace on Wednesday night. We'll have that one live here just to make sure we cover all our bases and we're not leaving anything to chance, because that's the last thing you would want to do. Build up for the champions at that big moment, and then it comes during the week when you don't expect it. Liverpool won the title that way back in 2020 as well, when Chelsea beat Man City, and that confirmed the title for Liverpool back then. That was obviously in very different times. I'm sure if it does happen on Wednesday night, the city of Liverpool will absolutely come to a standstill and go absolutely mental on Wednesday night. But I'm thinking it's more likely to be this Sunday when Spurs come to town. This will be Spurs' 18th defeat of the season if they lose this game. Quite a stark contrast to Forest's 18th win of the season. Spurs have, although, won 11 games. They don't draw many. Only 4 draws this season, which is actually the lowest of any Premier League side. A number of teams have 5 draws, but Spurs were the least draws. But a lot more losses on their tally, of course, compared to a lot of other teams. Working the ball around the box well here, get it into the box. Richarlison, and in the end Dominguez goes down with a little bit of a head injury, which gets the game stopped, and Peter Banks goes to check upon the Nottingham Forest midfielder, who's easily helped back to his feet. I mean, Spurs, funnily enough, only the bottom 3 have lost more games than Tottenham this season. Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton are the only 3 sides that have equated more defeats than Spurs this campaign. Spurs with 17, Ipswich with 20, Leicester with 23 and Southampton with 26. Wolves have 17 as well alongside Spurs. So they are joint 4th on that list for the most defeats of any Premier League sides this season, which is mental. Mental. They only lost 12 games in the whole of last season. That's still quite a lot of losses, but they racked up 20 wins. And it's been a common theme, really, for Ange Postecoglou's teams. Well, that's nice 1-2 between Odebear and Kulishevsky, but Kulishevsky couldn't keep the ball, and Forest win it back. Lovely back flick by Alanga. Again, Danilo run out of balance, but he somehow found the ball to Williams, who overhit it towards Gibbs-White. Now Spurs, a little bit more buoyancy now. Porro, wide to Odebear. 6.5 minutes of the first half to go. Porro. Try to cross it. It's going nowhere, that one. Go get it back, though, Pedro Porro. Down the line of Wilson Odebear. Inside it went, and Romero on the run, but now a little bit caught here, Spurs. As Gibbs-White breaks away, undercooks the pass. Alanga was there, and he's got pace and power, but he undercooked the pass there. The Forest man. The game's gone a little bit more in Spurs' favour in the last few minutes. Spurs moving a little bit quicker, looking a bit more of a threat. Forest giving away cheap possession. Odebear with a cross into the box. It bounces nicely. Tell! Absolutely slices it wide of the post. Little bit of a gift there from Matisse Tell. Again, it's not great from Forest, really. The cross whipped in. Nico Williams, I think he headbutts the ground in trying to clear the ball away. Does he headbutt the ground? He does. He headbutts the turf and gets nowhere near the ball. Strange defending that, and almost a gift from Matisse Tell, who absolutely slices the effort. Nico Williams, a very lucky boy at the back post there. He almost gifted Spurs an opportunity. Look at the position Forest have got themselves in. 2-0 up. Spurs all the work to do. Since Chris Wood scored, though, Forest haven't been anywhere near the Spurs goal. And Spurs, contrastingly, have been all over Nottingham Forest in terms of shots and touches in the opposition box. And possession, of course. Porro. Wide again to Odebear. Darts it across! And Richarlison was throwing himself at it, but it kind of flicked off his head and went wide. It was Sarr and Richarlison that were there. And I think Richarlison got the touch. And it just goes all the way out the other end. Odebear with a delicious cross into the 6-yard box, into the air. What a cross. And I don't know what Richarlison's doing. He's trying to do a starfish in the sky. And how does that not get anywhere near the target? Doesn't help himself, does he? I mean, my goodness. Richarlison, who's barely been involved, he had 4 touches so far. That was before the header. There's Romero there, very strong challenge, which gets him a yellow card and gets Nottingham Forest a free kick. It's Elliot Anderson that was fouled again. And the Argentinian, shown a yellow for that, comes charging out. And comes right through Elliot Anderson. Takes him out. Gets a yellow card for his troubles there, Christian Romero. 3rd of the season for him. And for the Spurs captain. 3 minutes until half time. They scored their second goal in the 16th minute of this game. Seems like a long time ago now. And Spurs haven't been able to respond. Not for the want to try. And Murillo does deliver this free kick. Nico Williams was involved there. Sorry, it was Nicholas Dominguez, apologies. Didn't quite do well with his header, and Odebear tries to steal it, and he's got no better pace than Murillo, who takes everybody in his wake, and Elliot Anderson has to rescue it out for a throw. Certainly didn't cover themselves in glory there, the Forest defenders. Spurs trying to use pace to break past the man mountain that is Murillo. Certainly not going to get past him with sheer physicality. Here's Tell. 2 minutes to go of the first half. Tell's delivery. Richarlison's header. He's put another one wide. I mean, Odebear and Tell have offered a lot from wide areas, but that's the second time Richarlison's had a free header, and he completely, absolutely directs it wide. Another chance wasted. Another chance gone a begging. I mean, how many do they want? I mean, I have a bit of a cheek to say that when Liverpool took 25 shots to find the net against Leicester. Murillo not in the best of ways, a little bit gingerly walking there. I think it was because of that little moment he got caught between 2 players on the spin there and might have jolted something there into maybe his left leg. He's not running particularly convincingly there. Danilo sees that one out for a throw-in down the left side for Nottingham Forest. And there might be a little bit of added time due to the VAR check, of course, that ruled out the earlier goal that would have been the Forest second goal from Chris Wood. That was ruled out, but obviously they still got the second goal and Chris Wood got it, quite ironically. Sells with a long clearance. Look at the bodies chasing it in red. And Porro somehow squeezes his way through those two red shirts and breaks away with the ball here. This be Spurs' chance. Down the right side, Odebear well cleaned out by Harry Toffolo, who got all ball and put it out for the Spurs throw down the right side here. 3 added minutes at the end of the first half. Spurs maybe trying to cut the deficit just before half-time. We've had ample opportunity to at least find the net once, especially in the last 5 minutes, but haven't been able to convert as of yet. Kuliszewski getting a lucky bounce. Richarlison's in the box, battling there with Murillo, who spins around and gets the ball cleared of danger. Nicely worked back though to Odebear from Spurs. Blocked well by Danilo, who was tracking back there. And another throw into Tottenham. Spin of the ball from Kuliszewski, who felt he was held, but the referee saw no foul. And Forest come away with it. Anderson trying to angle one down the left for Anthony Elanga. It was always seen away by Rodrigo Bentancur. And I don't know what Rodrigo Bentancur was doing there. Whether he felt a bit pressured by Anthony Elanga, but Forest have won the throw-in. Did he just put that out of play just to avoid a challenge? Strange bit of defending that from Bentancur. Another throw-in for Forest. Pedro Porro, the most touches of this game so far, 58. A lot of the Spurs players on that list. Elliot Anderson takes down the throw, right at the corner flag against Porro, and wins another throw-in. There off Pedro Porro does Elliot Anderson. Scored the opener, set up the second. That wasn't to be the second, of course. And that was heavily involved in the goal that ended up being the second. Toffolo with a throw-in. Brought down by Elliot Anderson again. Odebear up against him this time. And the ball had crossed the sideline from Elliot Anderson, so a throw-in to Tottenham. 40 seconds of the first half remain. Spurs 0, Forest 2. And there's no doubting Nuno Espirito Santo will be the happier of the two managers at half-time. Back at the place where he didn't have a great time. Let's just be completely honest. Nuno Espirito Santo, I don't think it was a great spell in charge of Spurs. And that's probably not down to his own fault. I would argue anyway. And at the minute, it's going swimmingly for his new club. Well, 7 of his 17 games in charge of Spurs. But at half-time, here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as boos ring around, in his 62nd game in charge of Nottingham Forest, it looks like Nuno has come back to haunt his old club. Half-time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's Tottenham 0, Nottingham Forest 2. Welcome back to Premier League Live. Half-time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Spurs 0, Nottingham Forest 2 at the break. It is not going well for Tottenham at the moment in time. And look, it was a great start from Nottingham Forest, but Spurs have had all the play probably the last 25 minutes, and they just haven't been able to find the equaliser. Well, find a goal back and then try and find an equaliser. But they've certainly missed some sitters and some big chances. And surely that's just probably summed up Spurs all season, really. Chances galore, just not able to get the job done. That's been Spurs all season. I can read you out the stats and just hammer home the point. They've had 67% possession, their XG of 1.23, 2 big chances, 10 shots, 3 corners, but only 2 shots on target is the key point. From their 10 shots, only 2 of them on target. For context, Nottingham Forest have had 3 shots, and all of their shots have been on target. They have more shots on target than Spurs, and they hadn't had a shot after the Chris Wood goal in the 16th minute. If that doesn't hammer home the point, then I don't know what will. But it was a great start from Nottingham Forest. I mean, they come out with a lot of desire, a lot of heart, a lot of energy, a lot of kind of passion and determination to get off to a good start, off the back of those 2 league defeats in a row, Aston Villa and Everton. They wanted to bounce back and give themselves kind of belief again of why they're in this race for Champions League football, why they're in this battle, and also give themselves a bit of a look and go, yeah, we can do this. You know what I mean? In their own self-belief. Forget about anybody else and everybody else believing in them, but for themselves to go, yeah, this is why we've been here all season. This is why we're up there with the top sides in the Premier League. And they started really well. They come out with a lot of that fight, that sheer grit and determination to win the ball, to fight for the ball, to fight for every single challenge. And in the first 10 minutes, we saw that. They got the early goal, Elliot Anderson from a corner. From the corner, it fed all the way through. Elliot Anderson hit it sweetly, took a slight deflection and then was palmed in by the goalkeeper. So terrible from Spurs' point of view on that front, not defending the corner well, and then their goalkeeper basically palming it in. But credit to Elliot Anderson, and the shot that he took and the start that Forest got off with, because that goal, I don't think this kind of allowed them to go, yeah, we've got a goal now, let's just sit back and relax. Well, actually, it was the opposite for Forest. They went on and scored a second goal. That obviously was then disallowed, and I can get that image up for you on why that was disallowed. Too big. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. So that's why the second goal that was disallowed, of course, and we told you we'd get evidence of that. So Chris Wood just offside. It was good cross by Anderson, lovely cross over the top. And then Wood broke in behind his defender and forced it past Vicario, who again had a little bit of a palm to get involved in that. But of course, offside in the build-up, so the goal didn't stand. And then they did get a second goal, Nottingham Forest, which again came from a set piece. Again, 2 set piece goals really came from a set piece. A smart free kick. Murillo around about the centre circle, really. He wasn't anywhere near the box. Just fed it down the left channel. Made it look like he was going to whip it in with the amount of Forest bodies that were there. But Alanga just drifted out to the left. No one tracked him. Fed it down the left side. He had time and space to whip across in, and Alanga's got such quality. I mean, he's on the corners for Forest. He's that good with deliveries and crosses, and he whipped a beautiful ball in right onto the head of Chris Wood, and he did the rest. Again, the keeper not covering himself in glory in any of these moments. The 2 goals that did stand and then the one that was ruled out, the keeper was nowhere to be seen for Tottenham. In the first one, he palms it into his own net. The one that was disallowed, he palmed it in as well. And then the third one, he just comes running out into this no man's land, trying to win the ball, to try and punch it, and he's just beaten to it by Chris Wood. I mean, he's just nowhere near it. Vicario not commanding his area, not getting involved well enough, and just poor goalkeeping, really. But we spot here, I'm looking at the Chris Wood goal, and I spot there's a number of Spurs players on the back line, but what Christian Romero doesn't do well is we often see a defender, if they've got an attacker behind them, they're always over like this, looking over their shoulder 2 or 3 times before the cross comes in. What Christian Romero doesn't do there, and I've just spotted it, he allows Chris Wood to sneak in behind him, doesn't check where he is, so he doesn't adjust his position. He steps up and out of the way, Wood steps in behind him, and Van de Ven's trying to cover over to try and help him, but it's too late because the cross is in, and Chris Wood's already in the air by the time Van de Ven gets anywhere near him, and by that point it's a goal. So poor from Christian Romero that I've just spotted there. I didn't see it the first time round, but I spotted it there, and it is poor defending from Tottenham. But again, both from set pieces. And we talk about, and Arne Slot said it, and I don't want to harp back to Liverpool all the time, just because I've got a Liverpool shirt on, but that's not the reason. It stuck with me because in games, set pieces are the difference in football so often. A corner, a free kick, or even a penalty, or something of that like. A set piece is so important to give you a lift, to give you something when you think you're being solidified and you're seeing out. The first goal came from a corner, not dealt with well enough by Spurs, not clearing their lines, not dealing with it, allowing the man to have the shot on the edge of the box, and the keeper palming it in. The second one came from another set piece, quick free kick, down the left-hand side, lovely cross, header, goal. Again, two set pieces that have let Spurs down in that first half, and I mean, that's what Nottingham Forest are all about. They're not about dominating possession, dominating shots, having all this stat padding nonsense. It's about doing it when it matters and doing it when it's right. And that's what Nuno has got so perfectly right. It's a fine margin, it's a fine line to walk when you're playing counter-attacking football. It's a fine line between parking the bus and actually having a possible counter-attacking threat. Because when you allow a team to have, like the way Spurs have, 67% of the ball, a lot of teams would dominate and pen you in and keep you in your own defensive third. But somehow, and I think it's down to pace alone, based on the quality of the forwards that Nuno has at his disposal at Forest, they always have an outball. They always have someone to go to if they're in a bit of trouble. Knock it up the top to Chris Wood, who can hold it up, or play it into the path of Alanga, or even Hudson-Odoi, or someone in those wide areas that can hold the ball up or carry it forward and get you out of the trouble. And that's why the system works so well for Nuno and his team, because they've got that down to a T, and they've got it perfect. Now, of course, it just so happens that the two goals come from set pieces for them, and I think that's another point that Nuno really hones in on. And I think the best managers realise that when you get as good at set pieces as you can be, you will always be a threat. If you're not good at set pieces, either defensively or attacking wise, you're going to lose more games of football than you feel you probably could based on the quality you have. And arguably, that's what Spurs have fallen foul of this season. They've conceded 2 goals from set pieces and have not scored anywhere near enough this season from set pieces themselves, and not done enough in front of goal at all in that first half. Not clinical enough at all. So all that combines to what is known as kind of an imbalance in set pieces. You're being outfought, you're being outworked, you're being outdone in set pieces, and when you lose that battle, you're not going to win as many games as you want, and you're not going to win as many games as maybe you feel your quality shows. And again, that's where the joy is. And I think as well, Nottingham Forest have conceded a lot of their goals from inside their box this season. If I'm not mistaken, it's inside the 6-yard box, that is. They've conceded 10 of their 38 goals inside the 6-yard box this season. Spurs had 2 great chances in the 6-yard box, and they didn't score. That's where you want to get the ball when you're against Nottingham Forest. They had it twice. 2 great goal-scoring chances. What happened? They missed their chances. And, I mean, that's not Ange's fault. They got them in the right position. Just didn't take their chances. And, it's not good enough from Tottenham's point of view. But what have we said all season? They just haven't been good enough all season. And whether it's Ange Postecoglou and his tactics and all that, and that's been up in the air for weeks and months about talking on whether he's too attacking and he doesn't defend well enough, or it doesn't focus on the defensive side of the game. I don't think that's the heart of the issue. I think they're just weak. They're just weak. It's that simple. They're not strong enough on set pieces. They're not clinical enough. They haven't got good quality up the field. I mean, if you're relying upon Richarlison to score your goals, I mean, sorry to tell you, but you're not going to be in a good position. And that's just the God's honest truth of the whole situation. And they are just really weak. I mean, they give me a hint of kind of, what can we do to trick the referee today? What can we do to buy a free kick or buy something out of the referee to get a bit of joy? They don't seem like a side that are like Forest, doing something, playing their own football and winning and doing the right way and getting the right kind of right attitude in the game and the right points in a match of going, well, this is what we need to be better on. This is what a lot of good teams get good at. This is what we need to be better at. They score a lot of goals, Spurs, but they also concede a lot of goals and a lot of stupid goals and a lot of set-piece goals. And when you concede that many set-piece goals, you're just not gonna do well enough. That's the way it stands at the minute. Right, I've rambled on that much. I haven't even been able to talk about what's coming up. Anyway, I can tell you that this is coming up tomorrow. Man City against Aston Villa. Tomorrow, 8 o'clock on LFS as the chase for Champions League continues. City, who start the night in 4th, and Aston Villa, who started the night in 7th, face off at the Etihad tomorrow. We'll find out what happens there tomorrow at 8 o'clock. We'll find out what happens at the Tottenham Forest Stadium when we return in about a minute's time for the second half. Welcome back to Premier League Live. Second half at the TH. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in North London is on the way in a moment. These are a reminder of the weekend scorelines. Brentford winning 4-2 at home to Brighton. 0-0 draw between Palace and Bournemouth. Man City left it late against Everton. West Ham denied by Southampton. Villa 4-1 thrashing of Newcastle. Chelsea with a comeback victory in the West London derby. Arsenal easy work of Ipswich. They're all but down. Wolves winning away at Old Trafford. A league double over Man United for the first time in a long time. And Liverpool confirming Leicester's relegation and putting themselves one win away from a Premier League title. At half-time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's Spurs 2-0 down to Nottingham Forest, who scored from 2 set pieces and 2 very good moments for them and their players. But for Spurs, they've made a double centre-back change. Romero and Van de Ven are off. And Ben Davies and Kevin Danso are on. Fascinating. Doesn't look good as well for Forest. Morato is coming on, which I have a feeling might be a replacement of... No, it's Anthony Alanga that's come off. So Alanga off and Morato on for Forest. And Davies and Danso on for Spurs, replacing Van de Ven and Romero. Well, we'll see what Forest want to go to. I think they might change to a back 3 here. Milenkovic, Murillo, Morato in a back 3. Williams and Toffolo as wing backs, and then go to more of a 5 or a 3-4-3 maybe. Maybe pushing Elliot Anderson a little forward, or maybe Nicolas Dominguez. We'll see anyway. It looks like a back 3 for Forest for the second half, with an extra defender for an attacker. And Spurs swapping their centre-backs as well. Second half underway. Spurs missing big chances to get back in the game in the first half. They've another 45 to rescue it again in the second. Can Forest get over the line and jump up to 3rd in the Premier League table? That's the situation. that lies in wake and in waiting for Nottingham Forest if they can claim 3 points here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the first time ever for them. It's been a long time since they won away at Tottenham. It was so long ago. It was back at White Hart Lane back in 1997. The last time Nottingham Forest beat Spurs at home or away from home. I think Williams couldn't quite get his cross anywhere near the target there. That's a long, long time ago. 28 years ago. Here's Matthias Tell. Breaking forward for Spurs. Big chance. Stepped across Milenkovic, but run out of room past Murillo. And seen out well here was Matthias Tell. There's going to be a foul given against Murillo here. Left a little bit in on Matthias Tell there as he chased him out to the sidelines. And that's a free kick. Yeah, Matthias Tell. I said it, Spurs wide players in that first half with the threat. Odebear and Tell. And Tell just bursts away down that left channel. He gets towards the box, and as he dribbles past Milenkovic, he runs into Murillo, who gets enough to clear the ball away. And then Tell retrieves the ball out wide on the left, and Murillo tracks him and then fouls him. And now Spurs with an early free kick at the start of the half, which Tell won. Tell's going to take. All the Forest bodies back. Tell's delivery with the right foot, punched away by Sells, and cleared out for the throw on the far side. Strong goalkeeping there from Matt Sells. Stark contrast to his opposite. Pedro Porro from the throw in. Driving down the left, blocked out by Toffolo. Will be a throw to Tottenham. It's not a quiet week for Forest. They've got a FA Cup semi-final at Wembley to come at the weekends. That's not been commonplace for Nottingham Forest. It looks like Ryan Yates is getting himself ready to warm up there on the sidelines, and Dominguez might be the one that's in trouble and in a little bit of pain at the moment. So Forest play City on Sunday afternoon when Spurs head to Liverpool, of course. That's exactly the same time kickoff there. We'll have both of those games here on LFS, covering both at the same time. But Forest 2 up against Spurs tonight. And how long will it take for their focus to maybe turn towards that semi-final? Get some big players off and just try and see this one out to the end. Of course, it'll be very early to do that anytime soon, but just think, would they maybe want to try and add a third, or would they risk it? You know, I think the half-time substitution tells me that I don't think Nuno wants to risk going for a third overall, but he obviously wouldn't rule it out. Wouldn't say no to it, but would rather just solidify a little bit more and settle at the 2-0 scoreline so far. That might be a dangerous game to play, though. Very dangerous game to play. Porro. Kulishevsky. Nice work down the right side there. Lovely layoff by Bentancur, and the cross from Odebear. Blocked by Anderson and cleared away by Murillo. Again, the Spurs pressure starting to be applied. Porro takes the throw in quickly. Kulishevsky. Back to Danso. Now Ben Davies. A double substitution at the back for Spurs. Into the box it goes from Porro towards Kulishevsky, who made the run, but well blocked by Murillo, who clears it away. Fed back to Porro, though, again. Central to Bentancur, who's a little bit caught. Dominguez doesn't win the ball. Now Bentancur. Sarnai. Out wide it goes to Tell. Drifts it across, looking for Bentancur, well charged out that time by Nottingham Forest. That was Danilo that closed that one out. Here's Williams, Dominguez, cleared away by Milenkovic, looking for Wood. Got the better of Danzo, but Spurs had the possession anyway. Porro drifting forward. I mean, there's so many Forest players back. All but one are back. Nice little turn from Tell. Thought he was brought down. Felt there was a pull in there, but nothing. Sells that comes and claims. Yeah, nice work through the centre. Lovely little spin away from his man. But Matt Sells was there to smuggle it. Yeah, I mean, Milenkovic does get a hold of Papsar, but is it a foul? I don't think so. Don't think it's a penalty. I'd say it would be very harsh, or very soft if that was given. And it's not even being worried about by VAR. Sam, welcome in, Sam. Great to have you with us. Looks like I picked the right team today. The other day I picked Barcelona. I remember that, yes. I forgot about that. I know. They both went through, but you had them to win on the day. I remember that. They both lost. I'm guessing you picked Nottingham Forest, obviously. At the moment, they've gone a little bit more defensive, Forest, and Spurs in these first 7 minutes of this second half are continuing in the similar vein that they ended the first half. A lot of quality, a lot of possession. There's no real goal scoring chances yet. They're doing the right things. And dare I say it, it's been old Spurs. There's very little from Nottingham Forest in terms of the 2 goals that they had. There's very little of those moments. But all that matters is you score. I mean, I agree with what the convention, the conversation, sorry, has been about. A lot of this dull passing and controlling possession and stat padding and having loads more shots than the opposition, and we did everything other on the stats right, but we lost 4-0. I mean, like, whoa. You know, a lot of this rubbish talk. We played great football, but we lost 4-0. Well, you still lost 4-0. And that's what football's all about. It's fine margins, especially at the Premier League level, and you know, Spurs have been caught out again with the fine margins. You know, they've had all the possession, all the chances, all the shots, all of this, everything that you talk about stats-wise, but the most important stat is the scoreline, and a lot of people forget that sometimes, of like, yeah, you may have well have had 70% possession and 25 shots and 14 shots on target, but you didn't score. You lost. Sometimes I think it just gets lost on people. Like, Forest are winning 2-0. It doesn't matter if they've had 3 shots. They made those shots count. They weren't just stat padding shots. They actually turned out to be something good, and they turned into goals, which is what the game's all about, scoring goals. Sometimes people criticise that. Lovely from Wood. Gibbs White has missed the target. A rare attack from Forest, but it was almost a third goal. Again, it's a long ball. It's not really worked out for Chris Wood in that hold-up position, but what he does so well here, it's actually Gibbs White that gets the header, and it bounces towards Wood, and it just allows the freedom of Gibbs White to run in behind his defender, and Wood flicks it in, and Gibbs White just hits it wide. Wow. That's what I mean about Forest. They don't need to have a lot of possession. They don't need to have a lot of the chances. But all that matters is when you get your chance, you have to take it. That's the important thing. On that occasion, they didn't take it. But if they had have, that would have been a real turn-up for the books. More changes incoming here for Nottingham Forest. Ryan Yates and Callum Hudson-Odoi are ready and waiting to enter the fray. They did make a change at half-time, remember, which saw Alanga come off for Morato. That's a nice combination down the right here. Williams whips a cross in. Flicked on by Wood, still in the box. Flags up anyway against Chris Wood. And it's going to be a free kick to Tottenham. Well, Forest coming into tonight had lost their previous 2 games. They had only once ever suffered 3 successive defeats under Nuno Espirito Santo. They done that in February and March of last season. It's only once that it's happened. If they lose tonight to Spurs, of course, that will be the second time that they'll have done that. Danza winning the free kick there off Dominguez. Here is Jed Spence. Have lost 4 of the last 5 Premier League away games of Forest. Winning 1 of those, of course, after losing just 2 of their first 11 games this season away from home. Winning 7, drawing 2 and losing 2 of their first 11 away games. Losing 4 of the last 5. Wasn't nice reading before kick-off tonight, but it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek that Forest are now leading by 2-0 at Tottenham. Here's going to be a double change. It's going to see Nicolas Dominguez replaced by Ryan Yates. There seemingly is a problem there with Dominguez. So he's coming off. Yates is going to replace him. And Callum Hudson-Odoi is going to come on, and he's going to replace Danilo, I believe. He is. So Dominguez and Danilo off, and Hudson-Odoi and Yates on for Nottingham Forest. With the final 33 minutes to go. Long way to go still in this game, and Forest have led for a good 40 minutes now of this match, since they scored in the 16th minute to make it 2-0 from Chris Wood. Callum Hudson-Odoi on. I was saying about Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, how they're the 2 focal points for Forest in using the pace to get up the field and get out of danger. Here's Hudson-Odoi involving himself physically, and Gibbs White spinning on the ball and went down under a challenge there as he tried to clear it, and he's down holding his left shoulder, which the referee's going to give a free kick for. Collision with Jed Spence there from Gibbs White. He tried to get to head the ball and he just collided with Jed Spence there. Forest man. Free kick in the referee's eyes to Nottingham Forest. There's Jed Spence, former Forest player. Obviously. Long ball forward from the free kick, cleared away. Elliot Anderson keeps it alive. Yates trying to make a nuisance. And Nico Williams getting the ball, but seen out well by Papsar, who does well against Nico Williams there. Williams trying to battle back from the throw-in, gives away the free kick. And Forest, despite the fact that they have had a recent bad run of form, they still hold the 3rd best defence in terms of goals conceded in the Premier League this season. Only Liverpool and Arsenal have conceded less than Forest this season. They've conceded 38 goals. Liverpool have conceded 31, Arsenal 27. Are the only 2 sides that have conceded less than Forest this season. For context, Spurs had conceded 51 so far tonight. Not tonight. That's tallied from the 2 goals they've conceded tonight. They started 49 conceded before this evening's game. On 51 now. Don't want it to get any worse. And funnily enough, an interesting stat. I love these ones. Forest have only lost 2 of the last 35 league games played on Easter Monday. Won 21 and drawn 12. And in the top flight, Their record is even better. They're unbeaten in 16 games on Easter Monday, won 13, drawn 3, since a 1-0 loss at Chelsea in 1966. But for Spurs, it's the opposite. They've lost their last 2 Premier League games played on Easter Monday, with both of those defeats coming at home. 2-1 against Man United in 2006 and 2-1 v Norwich in 2012. Again, that's all arbitrary. No one's surely cursed on a certain day of the week. But you never know. Seems like it's playing, the stats and the history are playing out the same way here. Forest unbeaten in the last 16 games played in Easter Monday. In the top flight. Spurs lost their last 2 on Easter Monday. And Forest are winning 2-0 with just under 30 minutes to go here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Here's Morgan Gibbs-White. As Forest maybe want to add a third. Just give them a little bit more of a cushion than they already have. I do say, since the changes have been made from Forest, they've had a little bit more control. A little less kind of relentless pressure from Spurs, shall we say. It's kind of dissipated a little bit in the last 5 minutes. Well, since Spurs destroyed Man City 4-0 at the Etihad in November, only 3 sides in the league have picked up less points than them. Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton, 13, 8 and 7 respectively. Spurs have picked up 18, lost 12 out of 20 games since beating Man City back in November. Won 5 and drawn 3, lost 12. Incredible. Corner for Spurs here, right hand side. Porro to deliver. Flicked onto the front post. Cleared off the line. And now Hudson-Odoi wants to break away for Forest, and look at the pace he's got. Look at the space he's got. Can he do something? He's bundled over by Rodrigo Bentancur, and winning Forest a free kick. What a clearance off the line this is. Flicked on the near post by Kulishevsky, and it's Harry Toffolo. What a clearance in the air. Bicycle kick to clear the ball off your own line. I mean, that is sensational defending. It's fine margins at its very best. And Harry Toffolo, what a clearance that is. That is a game-winning clearance. Spurs scored then, and that really would have got them up and battling for the final 25 minutes. Anderson, awkward little cross that. And Spence will try and see it out. Actually, he's flicked it back in. Sarr, Spence, under pressure from Milenkovic. Wood also trying to apply pressure. Won the ball there, Chris Wood. Off Davies. And in the end, all battling towards the corner flag. Spurs win the goal kick. The Spurs would stay in 16th with defeat. They could be overtaken before they play again. When West Ham host Brighton on Saturday, West Ham would go above them if they were to get anything out of that game against Brighton. That would be really damning for Spurs to start next week, this weekend, in 17th in the league when they head to Anfield. There's going to be a yellow card coming out here for Morgan Gibbs-White, I believe, for a foul on Pedro Porro. See it again. Gibbs-White lost the ball, stretching to retrieve it back, and just caught the right foot of Pedro Porro there. It is a foul. It's one of those ones, he's just trying to make up for the heavy touch, and ends up taking out the Spurs player, and gets his 7th yellow card of the season. Morgan Gibbs-White. But again, Spurs not able to make the most of it and give it away. Here from the set piece. Ball fed wide here. Nico Williams whips it towards the box. Away by Kevin Danso. And Tell battling with Yates. And Yates doing incredibly well there. Winning Forest a throw in, which allows those fans on the far side to cheer on. Who's Forest fans? Spurs ready to make more changes here. Solanke and Johnson, Brennan Johnson and Dominic Solanke are the ones getting ready. Try and make an impact off the bench. Milinkovic. Nice touch by Gibbs White. Just gets away from them though. The ball. Danso finding Porro. Look at the space here. Porro. Again, an awful pass. Oh, it's awkward from Forest. Great save by Sells from Richarlison. That was really calamitous. And that really could have been a mix-up for Forest. They try and clear it away. Headed off their own man. It deflects into their box. And Richarlison had a glorious chance. And Matt Sells makes a great save to save the graces of his team. Again, it's Nico Williams trying to clear it away. He hits it off Ryan Yates' back. And it fell right through perfectly for Richarlison. And Matt Sells has to throw himself at the ball. Makes a great save. And then Spurs not able to convert from then on in. And Matt Sells has gone down, so he certainly gave himself to everything in that challenge. While in the meantime, Spurs have made that double change. Brennan Johnson and Dominic Solanke coming on. And they've replaced Wilson Audebert and Dejan Kulusevski. So Solanke and Johnson on for Kulusevski and Audebert. Going to front two, it looks like. That's what Solanke signalled towards Richarlison there. A front two for Spurs. I would say a 4-2-4 then for Tottenham. Two midfielders in Bentancur and Sarr, and then on the far right side would be Brennan Johnson, the far left side would be Matthias Tell, and then Solanke and Richarlison, the front two. Yep, that is the way they go, 4-2-4. Just trying to add that extra little body up the field, extra central body. Just give themselves more potency in the final third, more of a threat. More to cause problems to Forest, but that's not going to cause them problems as Pap Sarr puts it straight out of play for a throw. Since Chris Wood scored, Forest have had one shot. That was the Morgan Gibbs White shot that was well wide. Spurs have had 11, 4 of them on target. That's all of Spurs' shots on target have come after Chris Wood has scored. They haven't been able to find any sort of respite or reprieve in this game. Forest defence, maybe by a slice of luck sometimes, but somehow, and by some way, it has not been breached just yet. And that's credit to Nottingham Forest. Really credit to them. I mean, this is a Spurs side who score a lot in the league. 60 goals. It's almost 2 goals per game on average for Tottenham. That is a lot. And the fact that Forest have been haven't been undone, sorry. There's credit to their defence. There's credit to Nuno as well. He spotted it at half-time clearly and went to that back three just to try and give them a little bit more threat. That's a lovely little turn by Wood. Gets past Danso, skips past his man, and Davies went down, but not given the foul by the referee there. Davies with a challenge and just a throw-in for Forest on the left side here. Great work from Wood. Gets past Danso. One-on-one with Davies. He just kind of slightly upended. Don't know about that. They got the throw-in anyway. Excuse me. I've got a good stat for you as well. We'll hold on in a moment. Elliot Anderson linking up with Toffolo, holding on to the ball. Feeds it all the way back to Milinkovic, who goes back to his goalkeeper. 20 minutes to go at the TH in North London. Spurs 0, Forest 2. It's Hudson-Odoi. Anderson now. Back to Murillo. Chips it forward to much past Morgan Gibbs-White. Well, the last time that Spurs were above Forest in the table, because it has happened a few times this season. Oh, hold on a minute. Spurs might get one back here. Cross from Tell, blocked by Nico Williams. Looked like he was beaten past there, the Welshman. And he got back and made sure that that cross wasn't getting past him. That's what I mean about that defending. Throwing everything at it, committing to every single challenge. That's what it takes when you have to defend in the Premier League. And Nico Williams done it really well there. Here is Tell. Takes the corner. Down in the box. All the way through, and Gibbs-White hooks clear. Right the way back to Vicario, who will stride for it. As I was saying, Spurs were last above Forest in the table back in November when Spurs beat Man City 4-0. Forest lost 3-0 to Arsenal that day. Forest went 7th. Spurs were 6th. Spurs that was their highest point since that point. They have gone down and down the table all since. Forest have only gone up since that point. That was the lowest that Forest have got since then. They haven't been lower since then. And the table is Danzo's effort wide. And Spurs haven't been higher than that in the table. They crossed over and have never met again. It's crazy how you can see that. How long ago that was. How long Spurs have been in the bottom half. They've been in the bottom half of the table, Tottenham. They haven't been higher than 10th since they were 6th that week against Man City. They lost to Bournemouth and drew to Fulham at home in the week after and dropped to 10th and haven't been higher than that since. And that was in late November. Forest haven't been lower than 7th since then. So they met in the middle, and one went up, one went down. Forest are heading back up into 3rd as it stands. They would be 6 points behind 2nd placed Arsenal in the table. They wouldn't be without reach. Arsenal have got Champions League to focus on. And that might be straying their minds, so Forest would feel, why wouldn't they be catchable? But they've just got to worry about those teams that would be below them if they get this win over the line. And the Newcastles, the Cities, the Chelseas and the Villas, they're the ones they need to worry about. And at the minute, Spurs are the team that are going to fall once again to defeat at the hands of Nottingham Forest. They won the reverse fixture, Forest. Anthony Elanga scoring the only goal in the first half in a 1-0 win. And that was a long time since Forest have done the league double over Spurs. It's been a long time since that happened. It was actually back in 1997 when they last won away at Tottenham. Was the last time they won the league. They got the league double over them. Beat them 2-1 at the City Ground in January of 97, and then went to White Hart Lane and won 1-0 in March 97. That was actually on a run of 6 games unbeaten against Spurs back in the late 90s for Forest. They'd won 5 of those 6 games. And then before their relegation they lost double. And then since their promotion, their first win against Spurs came earlier this season. Since they were last promoted. There's never been a draw between these two since Forest were promoted. Spurs won 4, Forest have won 1 of the 5 previous meetings since Forest were last promoted. Doesn't look like that's going to happen today either, as Taiwo Awoniyi replaces Chris Wood, so a straight swap at centre forward. That's a big mountain of a man Taiwo Wonyi. He is not a small character. That's not to body shame him whatsoever. Pedro Porro felt the full force of Taiwo Wonyi there in a challenge. Gets the free kick there, Porro, but felt the full whack of Taiwo Wonyi there. And Wonyi's not had a bad season either for Nottingham Forest, the 27-year-old. He's only scored one Premier League goal this season, though. And that came away at Wolves in a 3-0 win back in January. It's not goal scoring he's needed for this evening. It's just to try and hold up the ball, I'm sure, and alleviate the pressure. Something Chris Wood has been doing very well in the last 75 minutes. There's just 14 or so minutes to go with this one. And Forest, like they have from the 16th minute of this game, for the last hour of this match, they lead by 2-0. And just 15 minutes or so away from moving back up into the Champions League places and right in the mix in third. And that's where they want to be, of course. And that's where their belief will take them. Can they get it over the line? What a season it would be if they could. With 5 to go, you wouldn't bet against them. I just say that. If they can hold on to here against Spurs, that's one step closer. Still another 13 minutes to go, though. Danso laid it off wide to Porro. Gets the cross in. Bodies in the box. Away by Anderson. Again, it will come right back the way it came. Bendencourt. Papsar. Danzo finding Porro now. Davies. Finding Jed Spence now down the left-hand side, up against Morgan Gibbs-White and Nico Williams that have both gone down that side. Forest have, for the whole second half, they've not been targeting attack as their main approach. I think any of this game's been about them targeting attack as their approach. Attack in the right moments. They've done that. Got 2 goals out of it. And now that's what they're trying to hold on for. Porro. Johnson. Beaten to it there. And Hudson-Odoi wants to burst away here for Forest. This is what they need to do. This is what they're in the team for. Lovely little skip away from Hudson-Odoi. And he just blasted the ball right at Papsar as he tried to cross it to Gibbs-White. And that's 1-1 back by Spurs. But that was a little bit of a reprieve for Forest. That's what I mean about Hudson-Odoi. He's just using his pace, gets down the line, and this gets Forest out a little bit. They just don't want to overcommit themselves, though. They've worked ever so hard in this game, Forest. They play the way they play, and it's successful for them. It's working. There's no right way or wrong way to play football when you're winning games and when you're getting results over the line and you're completing the tasks to get to your targets and to complete your objectives. That's what football's all about. And that's what tactics is all about. It's finding a way to win. And Richarlison! Good header, but Sells with a great save to parry it away. And Awoniyi trying to hold the ball up. Just caught Ben Davies there. What a chance. That's the 3rd header for Richarlison. This time he does get it on target, but it's well saved by Matt Sells. He does really well. What happens there is Richarlison's header hits the ground, and what Sells does really well, it could have bounced, and what he does is he scoops his hand underneath it and just makes sure it doesn't bounce, and he just claws it away. That's great goalkeeping. It's been called into action a handful of times, Now Papsar's been replaced by Lucas Bergval for Spurs. Oh! Goodness, Nico Williams might have scored an own goal there. Bit lucky. Cross there from the right hand side. Brennan Johnson right across the 6-yard box, and Nico Williams tried to clear it. Kind of shinned it over his own crossbar. That was a nervy one for Nico Williams. Tell with a corner, left hand side. Lots of bodies in there. There's more than enough time to get a goal or two here for Spurs. Way by Williams. Making up for the miscue. Clears it away. Spence to spin it wide. Taken down by Porro, but Gibbs White's battling. Loses that battle. Porro gets away from him. Blocked by Toffolo, the cross. And Murillo to clear his lines. Johnson keeps it alive. Hooked back round the corner by Ben Davies, but again, no one there to hold it up for Spurs, and Hudson-Odoi plays it right to Bergval, who gives it back to Spence. Spurs have had 16 shots, apologies, 4 on target. 6 of those have come in the second half. Here's Ben Davies across, and they're all battling and tussling. Will be a Spurs corner. Solanke that got involved, and the last touch came off a Forest defender for a corner. This is the moment. These are the moments where Spurs will throw everything at it. They've got nothing to lose. They'll throw everything at it. This is where Forest will be tested. Porro's corner. Whipped in. Flicked away by Hudson-Odoi. Bergval recycles it out wide to Porro. Nicely done. Porro whips a cross in. Cleared away at the front post by Morato. And away a danger again. As Awonyi. Oh, just about beaten to it by Bentancur. And I swung out to Tell. Drifting into the box. Matthias Tell. Across. Solanke was in the mix. But Elliot Anderson hooks away for a throw-in. It is one-way traffic. It is Spurs attacking, Forest defending. And at the moment, the continued defending from Forest is working out and getting the job done, as Murillo was down. Helped back to his feet there by Richarlison. Who knows, that might be a little bit cheeky for Murillo. Still a lot of work to do though. 7 minutes plus the additional time for Spurs to try and conjure up what would be an unbelievable comeback and try and rescue anything. Davies chips it into the box. Away there by Toffolo. Porro whips it back in. Headed away by Morato. Not cleanly, but not cleanly caught by Jed Spence, who scoops it wide. Goal kick. Gotta say, Ange Postecoglou, his side have created so much, but this is a resilient Forest defence that I've got something to battle for, something remarkable to battle for. This club, steeped in European history, those back-to-back European Cups, all the way 50 years ago. They want to be back in that competition next season. That's what they've got hanging over them, and the pressure that might come with. Forest are dealing with it well at the moment. Still time for Spurs to change that narrative. However, not losing the ball there wouldn't help it. Awonyi. Gibbs White tried to dart it forward for Hudson-Odoi, but he just got away too early there, Hudson-Odoi. Made it too difficult for his teammate there. Spence. Poor ball. That's a fatigue pass. That's a pass of, we've played 84 minutes trying our ever hardest to score and there's just no way through. Awonyi, that's what fresh legs give you. Holds it up well, feeds it wide to Hudson-Odoi. Spurs have defending to do for themselves now. Awonyi couldn't carry it through. Yates challenging along with Bentancur. This is what Forest want. The ball at this area of the field and Spurs with nowhere to go. And Anderson won it back, but not fairly, off Solanke, said the referee. Free kick to Spurs. 5 minutes to go, plus additional time. Looks very likely what's going to happen. Can Spurs change that outcome, that narrative, and get themselves something to cheer about tonight? They've got European semi-finals to focus on. The league was well gone a long time ago to worry about for Spurs. Their league position is as woeful can be, really. But for Forest, they've got so much left on their Premier League campaign. The next 5 games will probably be as excruciating as this, and as painful defensively as this. But that's what you want. Oh! They might get back here. Richarlison converts his header, and Spurs have a goal back. Maybe Nottingham Forest defence isn't invincible, and Richarlison finds a goal, and there's more than enough time for Spurs to rescue another goal out of this. It comes from nothing, from a cross. It's so many times we've seen that cross, and it's a great leaping header by Richarlison. He messed up the 3 prior, but he does convert his 4th header of the night, and Spurs convert for the first time in the night. Spurs 1, Forest 2, game on at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They have been relentlessly trying to knock down that door that was being held by the Forest defence, and maybe it's just been left ajar with 3 minutes to go and additional time for Spurs to try and steal a point here. The nerves will surely be felt by Forest fans up and down the country, and by the fans inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and those 11 players on the field. But can they get over the line? They're in no hurry to take this throw in. Toffolo down the line, headed out by Danzo. Another Forest throw. It's damage limitations for Forest now. Let's make sure it doesn't get worse and Spurs don't find a second goal. Or even better for Forest, try and get a third. They're in the right area of the field. They're up the field here. Wonyi does roll it through, but past Hudson-Odoi. And now a little bit of room for Spurs to break here with Bergvall, and Yates is not going to let him go, and he's going to take a yellow card for his troubles there. Once he got a hold of Lucas Bergvall there, Ryan Yates, he was not letting go, and he gets a yellow card for that challenge and that foul. Yeah. Ninth yellow card of the season. Well, it's not only Spurs and Forest fans watching this one. It's fans of Newcastle, City, Chelsea and Villa all watching on, hoping and praying that Spurs can get a leveller to give their team an extra advantage, to give their team an extra position up the table and knock Forest down a few pegs again. Is there time? 1 minute of normal time to go. Shot, and another one over the bar by Ben Davies. It was Tell with the first. He hit his own man, I think, in the box, and it bounced out for Ben Davies. See it again. Tell's right-footed effort. Oh no, it's well headed away by Milenkovic there. Went through Richarlison, and then headed out. Ben Davies hits it, skies it over the bar. Let's see how long we'll be added on as we edge closer to the 90-minute mark. Arms folded from Ange Postecoglou. He ridded the coat. He had a coat on in the first half. Got rid of it. Whatever for, I don't know. A lucky coat? Who knows? An unlucky coat, probably. As Forest try and get it as far away from goal as possible. 5 added minutes. That's what's left. That's what Spurs will want to find a goal within. That's what they need to find a goal within the next 5 minutes. Quality on the field. They've already found the net. Why couldn't they do it again? Porro's delivery. Close for Richarlison, but he's going to get penalised here for a pull on Milenkovic, who's now just gone to the ground there after standing up. So whatever that's about. Maybe a bit of time wasting from Nikola Milenkovic. I'm sure the referee's not having any of this rubbish. I don't think he's injured. I don't think he's in pain. I think that's what you call a little bit of professional time wasting. Or professional game management, as the more optimistic people would like to say. I'm more realistic. Ramon Sosa is ready and waiting to enter the fray. All the tactics are being used. Time wasting with the fake injury. Time wasting with the goalkeeper, who's just got booked Matt Sells for time wasting. And then a substitute as well. All the tactics are being used to eke up every single second for Forest to try and get this win over the line. Hudson-Odoi takes it down and was brought down. So a free kick will go his way and Forest's way, which will eke another couple of seconds out of this game. Second minute of the 5 added, with about just over 3 minutes to go. Ramon Sosa is coming on, and he's going to replace Morgan Gibbs-White. So that final substitution for Forest. Gibbs-White, who did miss that chance for 3-0 earlier in the game. Maybe that was in his head as he walked off there. It seemed like he was saying something. Not to worry now. I'm sure they'll just dart this towards the corner, as close as they possibly can get it. Here's Anderson. Now Hudson-Odoi back to Toffolo. Oh, lovely little flick by Anderson, and Hudson-Odoi steps inside. Yeah, they're just trying to keep the ball moving, not allow Spurs to cut it away. Milenkovic flicked on into the box. Awonyi was close, but Vicario was there quicker. 2 minutes of the 5 to go, and Spurs have it back. Bergvall rolls it through for Porro. Down the line to Johnson, who stepped inside Toffolo, who caught Brennan Johnson late there, and is going to get himself a yellow card. There's Pedro Porro's not happy, whatever that was all about. Just stupidity, really. What's going on here? So Toffolo, yeah, he's just a little late on Brennan Johnson. It's a foul all day long and a yellow card all day long. His first yellow card of the Premier League season. It's obviously down to the lack of appearances he's made, rather than his perfect tackling. Free kick for Spurs. 90 seconds or less to go. Spurs 1, Forest 2. Is this Spurs' chance to grab an equaliser, snatch a point from Forest, steal 2 away from them? Cross cleared away, not fully though. Tell, blocked by Williams, headed away by Milenkovic. Awonyi inadvertently puts more pressure on his team as Tell and Williams chase for the ball. Williams comes out on top, and Williams hooks it up the field. Awonyi chests it down and carries it away from Jed Spence, and wins a throw-in for Spurs. Interesting. The away end thought that was a Forest throw. Assistant was definitive. It was a Spurs throw. 30 seconds to go. Ball darted out to Porro. Hudson-Odoi right on him, and put the ball out of play for a Spurs throw. Porro was desperately wanting a free kick. He's slamming the ground in pain, but the foul wasn't given. It's just going to be a throw-in to Nottingham Forest here. Ange Postecoglou arguing the point that it was a foul. But a fair challenge from Hudson-Odoi according to the officials. And that might just be that then. 5 minutes are up. It's up to the referee now what's left. Clearance over the top here, and there's a run in behind. Ramon Sosa's free. He's in behind. Is he going to go to the corner flag? I don't think he is. He's in the box here. He wants to rescue something out of this. Awonyi mishit it. He still got it though. surely, as long as Forest keep it, shouldn't be much time left now. He's going to the corner flag of Wonyi, and he's won a free kick off Bentancur. That's what you should be doing at this stage of the game if you're Nottingham Forest. Right where those Forest fans are, and they punch the air and celebrating their number 9's winning of a free kick. And this should be the last action of the game. Surely not much time left. Peter Banks, the referee. Williams rolls it towards Sosa. He goes to the corner flag and gets taken out again by Matchday. Another free kick for Forest. I mean, surely there's not much time left. What? I mean, we're into the 7th minute of added time. Let's blow the whistle, man. Awonyi and Williams, and they're in no hurry to move the ball, and that's a goal kick. But there's no time. It's all over. They might have done it the tricky way, but it doesn't matter what way you do it. As long as you get over the line, that's all that matters. And that's all that will be in the thoughts and minds of the Forest fans. If they claim big 3 points like this till the end of the season, surely they're destined for Champions League nights at the City Ground. They're back up to 3rd, a big 3 points after pressure was put on them. With all the results not really going their way this weekend, Villa winning, Chelsea winning, City winning, the pressure was put on Forest, who started the night in 6th, but they end the night in 3rd. Goals from Elliot Anderson and Chris Wood in the early minutes of the first half were enough in the end to stave off Richarlison's goal late in the game. Spurs hooked and crooked and huffed and puffed and threw everything they could at Nottingham Forest, but in the end they come unstuck. Nottingham Forest have won it, and they held on and got over the line. They're back up to 3rd, their 18th win of the season, and they dream of Champions League football. 5 games to go. It was never going to be easy for Nuno and his side, but they are just 5 games away of being an incredible, incredible season for that club. It has fine European history, but they want to make more, and under Nuno Espirito Santo it looks very possible. How poignant, how ironic, and quite frankly how funny that this is a man that Tottenham sacked, didn't believe he was good enough. Well, this was a Nottingham Forest side that were destined for relegation in the last 2 seasons. Nuno has spun it around and has them on the brink of Champions League qualification, whereas Ange's side are much closer to where Forest were in previous seasons, closer to the relegation zone. Final score at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's finished. Tottenham 1, Nottingham Forest 2. And in the end, I said it, all that will matter to Forest, their players, their fans, will be Champions League. Can they get it done? They have 5 games, and at the minute, they're in the driving seat. They've got the top spot. They're in 3rd. Of course, Arsenal and Liverpool are guaranteed that Champions League places, but Forest lead the way from the rest. Newcastle, the only side inside the top 7 to lose this weekend. Liverpool, Arsenal, Forest, City, Chelsea and Villa all winning. It's Newcastle that are the big losers this weekend and at the hands of Aston Villa. There's more of that twisting and turning to come, and the rest of the season. Do follow us here on LFS. The race for Europe is well and truly alive, and just 3 points separate 5 teams between 3rd and 7th. That's what comes down to this season, and we'll see which of those 3 teams out of the 5 will claim Champions League football. Incredible. That's it from us tonight, and that's it for Easter weekend. Thank you so much for watching. 8 games over the weekend, 8 big results, 8 big games for the Championship and the Premier League, and it's all here on LFS. If you want to go back and watch it, I would highly recommend it. But thank you so much for watching. It's been great. And we will certainly have highlights of the day's action as Leeds and Burnley were promoted back to the Premier League. They will be with us next season. And the celebrations already underway at Elland Road and at Turf Moor as they were promoted. That's the big story of the day. Forest are back in the top 5, up in the third. And that's the way Easter weekend turns out. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your company. And we'll be back tomorrow for Man City against Aston Villa. Another Champions League battlers competition and battle tomorrow night. Night night.